Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am Huck, and my good friend Tim at Tim Talks Talkies has asked us all here in the community, lover of horror movies, to put together our top 25 favorite horror movies and rank them from 25 all the way to number 1. So it is in order of preference. So it was really challenging to do this. And, you know, even when the list is done, you still feel like you could shift things around. But I think I've got my top 25. So stick around and check it out. All right, my friends. Now, before I totally kill this top 25 list, whatever, of horror movies, do me a favor, please get on down there, hit like, subscribe, smack that bell. Look, I checked out the analytics. Like, there's like 15% is the people that subscribe to me watch this, and like 75% or something also watch all my videos but aren't subscribed. So come on, y'all. Let's get some subscribing going. That would be great. Just get down there, hit like, subscribe, smack the notification bell so you get notified every time I do a new video. And I'm doing videos all the time, not just this, but I get out there and I do Blu-ray hunts for you guys that are a lot of fun. I do unboxings, movie reviews, top 10s. I go to local exhibits and conventions and do full tours for you guys. I do live morning shows every Tuesday morning, and trivia shows that are absolutely tons of fun. So guys, please come on back to the channel. Check all those things out. They're a lot of fun. Now, let's get to this top 25 horror movies of all time for me. So thank you to Tim Talks Talkies for putting this out there. So here we go. Now, I have my list sort of right up here, so I'm going to glance up at it instead of holding them all up, because I actually don't own them all on physical media. So I figured I would just show them to you right here, utilizing the old marquee that I used to use for my box office breakdown. So here we go. At 25, I'm going to go with 1990's Misery, starring Kathy Bates and James Caan, directed by Rob Reiner. That is such a good thriller. Kathy Bates walked away with the Oscar that year, proving that genre has merit at the Academy Awards. All right, next up at number 24 is Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978, although I really love the original as well. I like the super creep factor that's found in the 78 version with Jeff Goldblum, Leonard Nimoy, Donald Sutherland. Such a good flick, man. Dig it. All right, at number 23, we're going to bring in a Friday the 13th, and man, I kicked it around, but I think I'm just going to go with Friday the 13th Part 3 because I love sort of that kitschy little goofy effect of making it 3D in the theaters. I remember seeing it in 3D when it was in the theaters. So there was just something fun about that. There's likability in so much of these Friday the 13th movies, but I'm going to go ahead and pick Part 3 to represent Friday the 13th. All right, up next is the other guy from the 80s. At number 22 is Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984, starring Robert Englund as the killer himself, Freddy Krueger. Look, these guys go hand in hand with their legendary status, so much so that later down the line we got a combo movie, Freddy versus Jason. All right, and but that is not on the list. Now, next up, we are going some classics. I mean, you're going to see my movies sort of jump all over the decades here, and we're going all the way back to 1933 with the original The Invisible Man with Claude Rains. Man, this thing was so good. When I plowed through all 30 films in my, there it is right there, the classic box set, with all the Universal monsters, the Universal, or the Invisible Man stuff was really fascinating to me. Like, because they had the Invisible Woman, which kind of a comedy, the Invisible Agent, which was like a spy thriller, but with the invisible stuff going on. So yeah, but I got to go with that original Invisible Man. So good. All right, up next is an absolute classic from 1975, and it is Steven Spielberg's Jaws. Love this film. Now, I know a lot of you are probably shocked it's not higher on the list, but I mean, I love Jaws. It's a great movie. I'm just trying to put like the spook factor in there. Like it's just a great movie overall, but I think some of the spook factors are spread out. I don't know. Anyway, I put it at number 20. I'm sure I could put it easily at number 10, but that's where it fell when I was sort of piecing this together in my head. All right, next up is another all-time classic back to the Universal set, and that is The Mummy from 1932, starring Boris Karloff as Imhotep himself. Man, I'm telling you, these things are so well made. I loved all the originals. Like, the sequels tended to fall flat on some of these, but the originals were just so solid, and there was something super like, I don't know, really good about The Mummy. I feel like they started to really up their cinematography when that came, because there's always not a lot of inventive camera moves or camera effects in those movies, but The Mummy had some pretty impressive ones in that. All right, so next up is the 2017 version of It. Oh yeah, I just watched it for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and I thought it was super creepy. I love the original with Tim Curry. I'm just sort of leaning these towards theatrical films though, not like TV films and stuff like that. So I kept that particular It off of it and went ahead and put this one from 2017. Man. All right, let's move on to another all-time classic from the 70s, and that is John Carpenter's Halloween. Yes, I know it's not higher on the list, but here it is. Look, it's going to make the list because it is such a classic. Anyway, it stars Jamie Lee Curtis, of course, from 1978. And this film is just a masterpiece. It introduces Michael Myers to the pop cultural zeitgeist out there. And he's still kicking. We just got Halloween Ends this year, just like last weekend. So, but there you go, the original from 1978. At number 16, we have Dawn of the Dead from 1978, also same year. And I just love that film too. When I saw that in the theaters, it was as a midnight movie, right, in the 80s. And man, just all them zombies running around and the kills and stuff, done by George Romero. So good. So yeah, Dawn of the Dead. Now, number 15 is a relatively newer horror film that I really enjoyed. I was totally surprised by it. I didn't know what to expect, but Ready or Not, it was so good. Like, I just thoroughly loved that sort of like, you know, oh, you're going to come to this family, but you got to play a game first. And, you know, because I'm not totally into like the play a game stuff like Saw. I'm not into those kind of films, but something like this, Ready or Not, tons of fun. I thought it was really cool. All right, next up is number 14, The Lost Boys from 1987. We're back to the 80s. This thing is an absolute classic, masterpiece, y'all. It just got released in 4K this year. Kiefer Sutherland, Jason Patric. Man, it's such a good vampire film. I love the look of it. I love the tone. Directed by Joel Schumacher. Good stuff. So that's number 14. And number 13... from the 90s, I believe this is my first one from the 90s, and that is Scream. That's right, with, you know, Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox and Drew Barrymore. It's like it just sort of reinvented and reinvigorated the whole horror franchise, and it's just a lot of fun. It's sort of like self-aware, but also a killing movie. So yeah, gotta go with Scream. At number 12, we're going back to the classics over there, guys, with 1931's Dracula starring Bela Lugosi. I love these classic things. When I'm dialing in my horror movies, they don't tend to be a lot of these really like gore fest, shocky stuff from the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. You know, like you find straight to VHS in the horror section. Mine, I like my horror movies to sort of have this like an atmosphere to them. And those old originals definitely had atmosphere. So I'm going at number 12, Dracula. And at number 11, the very next one is Frankenstein from 1931 as well. They came out in the same year, just a few months apart. This one, of course, with Boris Karloff playing the lead role. And I mean, what can you say about Frankenstein? It's a masterpiece. It's sort of, these two films literally sort of, I think, encapsulate and begin that whole horror thing that's still going strong today, you know? We're still trying to, like, top these things, you know? So, yeah, I'm going to go with Frankenstein. And at number 10, also, another classic is King Kong, the original King Kong from 1933. I also love the Peter Jackson one, but I'm going to go with this one because I just fell in love with the stop-motion animation in this by Willis O'Brien. And it was just a masterpiece of its time. You know, when you look at it today, of course, you're kind of hokey. It's like this puppet and a fur moves. Because, you know, when the animator moves the arms, you know, he grabs the fur on the figure. So the fur is always kind of shifting when you watch him do his thing. But, you know, that's okay. That's okay, man, because that was artistry at its finest in that time. So I'm going number 10, King Kong. Now, at number 9, here we go. We're going to ramp it up, y'all. And it's 1986's John Carpenter's The Thing, starring Kurt Russell. Makeup, the practical effects by Rob Bottin are an absolute thing of beauty and horror because they're just nightmarish, you know, with the head that comes off and starts walking away. Oh man, this thing is a super creep fest. So gotta go The Thing at number 9. At number 8, one film that just scared the bejesus out of me was The Exorcist from 1973. Man, I remember seeing that at a midnight movie. Yeah, don't do that because it's already late and it's already dark. It's already creepy. And oh, just the sounds that are coming out of the speakers and it's all around you. In The Exorcist, oh, super scary, man. Super scary. All right, at number 7, I'm going 1982's Poltergeist, directed by Tobe Hooper, produced by Steven Spielberg. Some question whether Steven directed a lot of it, but who cares? It's such a great film. I just love the atmosphere of this. I love the tone. And there's something about that sort of 80s genre that clicks with me. And I sort of like the style of this film, that it's not necessarily a gore fest film, but it was creepy and scary as hell for what it was. So I'm going Poltergeist. Now, next up is a little bit more of a monster flick, also from the 80s, 1986 is The Fly, starring Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis, directed by David Cronenberg. Oh, man. I dug this film, man. It was just again, going with tone. The tone of this was super creepy. I don't like a lot of Cronenberg stuff either. I'm just not really a fan of his work. But man, this one I am a huge fan of. This is the one thing that he's made that really hits me just right. And Jeff Goldblum's performance as he's transitioning from Seth to Brundlefly to The Fly. Oh man, it's so good. All right, next up is probably the newest one on my list, and that's from 2018, A Quiet Place. I somehow missed this in the theater and regret not having had that experience in the theater because I can just only imagine what being surrounded by like that silence and the sounds and the lack thereof felt like. But we saw it here last year for the first time. Me and my wife would watch part 1 and part 2. And man, I just thought it was brilliant. So good. Like the use of no sound, like John Krasinski, man, and Emily Blunt, they killed it in that film. And because I just haven't seen a horror film in a long time that really impressed me, probably like Ready or Not was the newest one till this one. But yeah, I got to go Quiet Place. I think that's just a masterpiece. All right. Top 4 coming at you. We're going sci-fi horror here. Number 4 is 1979's Alien, directed by Ridley Scott, starring Sigourney Weaver and Tom Skerritt. Look, you know, she's like one of our original final girls, much like Jamie Lee Curtis. She survives all the way to the end, battles that alien, and doesn't take crap. Comes back in 1986 to whoop her ass again. So, yeah, just the original Alien, man. Talk about another thing that used like sort of silence and sounds and music and just all these little things to jump scare. And because, you know, like Jaws, they didn't really show you the villain or the creature till the end, right? So it really kept that suspense building in you. Like, what is this thing? So gotta go Alien, man. So good. At number 3, we're going one of my all-time faves, Evil Dead 2. That's right. Sam Raimi's directorial goodness. It came after the first Evil Dead. Bruce Campbell smacking the shit out of himself with his own hand, possessed, beating himself up, cuts his hand off, turns it into a chainsaw. I mean, let's go. Just absolutely love Evil Dead 2. At number 2 is 1981's An American Werewolf in London. Man, what can I say about this film? I just love this film. I love practical effects. You'll see that I'm not huge into all the CGI garbage that comes out nowadays, unless it's just really, really good. That's why I think it services things like Jurassic Park really well with the CGI. But when it comes to horror, there's something about the practical effects and the makeup and the fake heads and the blood and all that stuff that just shines. And this one with Rick Baker doing the creature effects and the transformation with David Naughton was out of this world. It ended up getting an Academy Award for Best Makeup, and it also established that category at the Academy Awards. That film, a horror movie, y'all, established a category at the Oscars because it was that good. And since 1981, we've had that category, and it's never going away. And finally, at number 1, this probably seems cliche, but look, I've been watching a ton of stuff, and I just checked out all these Hitchcock movies, and yes, I'm going with Psycho from 1960 as my favorite horror movie of all time, because not every horror movie needs blood and guts. Sometimes it just needs an exquisite story with impeccable performances And oh my God, when I rewatched this year, when I was plowing through all my Hitchcock movies, Tony Perkins is absolutely phenomenal. And this is why I'm going to get on the bandwagon of monsters that actually speak and perform are so much more engaging to me. That's why I sort of like Nightmare, Nightmare, because Freddy does talk, so he's got great personality. But things like Halloween and Jason, because they're such silent killers, I don't know, there's something about like a creature that's coming at you, but also has a little smack talk, you know? Like I don't have any Chuckies on my list because those weren't really part of my wheelhouse growing up, but I know a lot of you probably love the Chucky. But yeah, so for me, Psycho with Tony Perkins's like performance was just super creepy. So I got to go that as my number one. So there you go, Tim. That is my top 25 horror movies of all time in the order that I feel at this moment feels good to me. Guys, that's going to do it for now. If you're new to my channel one more time, please get on down there and hit like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell. Until next time, go make that 25 horror movie list and send it to Tim. Catch you guys later.